Yay! I guess Instagram loves us and didn't want us to be on Facebook. And here we are. So I was just telling everybody that they're very lucky to have us here.
Yes.
So while everybody trickles in, I'll let you start a bit of music, which I'm really,
Sure.
really dying for. And hopefully we'll have everybody coming in and we'll take questions. We have a lot of questions for each other. Yeah, so I'll let you start, Georgia.
All right. So this is a song I wrote this past year about the writing process itself. It's kind of meta in that regard. So I hope you'll like it. How can I know you when I don't know myself? I could be a seamstress sewing words across my back. Hold tight or might slip away from this vision of us I had in the black. Between dreamers and doers, poets often dwell. Our minds are ripe for plucking, but we linger. So to you I say, forever farewell. What if I became a physicist? Calculate trajectories that reappear as memories which orbit the same star. We move farther from truths we knew once far and near. Between dreamers and doers, poets often dwell. Our minds are ripe for plucking, but we linger. So to you I say, forever farewell. I tear apart realities. If only you'd sing harmonies to bring us to the light. But though I can't, and since you won't, I'll fly away and hope you won't miss me or patch me up alright. Will fig leaves ever turn gold again? I could eat the fruit from my garden and watch them shine from the boughs high above me. Is there a God in that vacuum, force so divine? The future is finished, so let love be mine. Between dreamers and doers, poets often dwell. Our minds are ripe for plucking, but we linger. So to you I say, forever farewell.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, we had a couple of hearts going up. It was just so beautiful to hear you sing live. And this is a song that you composed about the journey of writing.
Yes.
When
Yes.
did you compose?
So this started out as a poem, like a free-form poem, just getting ideas down on paper. You know, I had the bit about the seamstress, sewing words across her back. I had the part about the physicist and like outer space. And it sat as a poem for probably close to a year. I just didn't know what to do with it. And eventually I sat down. I'd probably given it 8 or 9 months of just being alone. And I sat down with it one day and I was like, I like the concept, but the form isn't working. How can I make the content suitable to a different form? and I really just started digging in and like trying to make it rhyme because I had this idea in my head that I could make a song out of it. I liked the themes of it enough to make it a song. And as soon as I started trying to figure out the rhymes and like the meter and the rhythm of the piece, I the melody came to me. And so I sat down with my guitar and sort of figured out a finger picking pattern for it. And the chorus was something like that really resonated with me at the time. Like between dreamers and doers, poets often dwell. And I think that's true to life because if you're a poet, you're kind of in between the realm of thinking, higher thinking, and the physical earth. So I thought that was a pretty clever line. But the melody, it took a long time to find the melody, for sure.
Yeah, I feel there's so much magic just in the melody. And
Mm.
now that I think about, the poet in between the dreamers and doers, that feels like, I don't know, like miraculous. And I think there's a poet in each one of us. And maybe we don't stop to think about it. Like I don't stop to think about that, like what's poetic in me. I feel like, yes, I'm poetic, especially when I'm dancing, or I'm walking and I'm reflecting on my writing. There's something poetic about that. But I think this poet probably lives within us every day, all the time, and is probably paying attention to that. So thank you. I feel like I'm learning so much. Because a lot of times, like we just do, which is probably what we should do. We just do, right?
Right.
But to get something done feels such a challenge sometimes for so many different reasons, and probably that's where the poet has this strong capacity to emerge and shine the light.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. So yeah, we had more hearts going up, and we have a few people here, and hopefully more people will come in. We were supposed to be on Facebook, but here we are. So Georgia, can you introduce yourself as a writer and so many more things that you do, and how we met?
Sure. I am, my name is Georgia Hertz. My stage name is Georgia Moon, hence the Instagram handle. But I am a musician, a writer, a teacher. I teach music. I write in many different capacities. I'm not just a songwriter. I also write poems, and I have been working with Samita for, I want to say, almost 6 years now, with co-authoring her novel with her. And we met through the wondrous internet about 6 years ago. She was looking for help getting her memoir off the ground, and I don't want to say I auditioned, but I wrote a piece, a snippet, like a segment of her novel so many years ago, and she just took me in, and here we are, as strong as ever.
Yeah, yeah. And at that time, I was so tied up hosting conferences and publishing academic book chapters and journals. And I had this thought of writing the memoir, but I didn't have the time, and I wasn't able to give the necessary space that it really required. And I'm so thankful for Georgia, to actually step in and to join me. And I just found a beautiful balance in her. And the miraculous thing is we haven't met in person yet, and which will happen. And I just feel like this is so miraculous in itself. And it has been 6 years, and we haven't met each other in person. At that time, when I started, I was really focused on the end result of the memoir, like any author would like to do, and actually, make sure that the readers receive what they're expecting to receive, and, do a perfect job. But over time, what I also realized that as much as that's important, the writing journey is equally important, or probably even more important. So over this time, I felt the writing journey has become way more important for me. And I guess, art reflects life. So this particular memoir will probably be in its best shape and form if it reflects the life that we're living right now. And this is part of our writing break. We're right in the middle of editing the 12th draft of the memoir. And this is our first live chat together. So,
Yes.
so yeah, it's incredible. Learned so much. What were some of the best things that you learned along the way? Like just as a writer, you know, what did you learn? Like not just from the memoir, but as a writer in your journey, what did you learn the best?
Right. I think one of the most important lessons that my writing teachers have given me is the fact that the setting is almost as important, if not more important in certain instances, in terms of the narrative of the story and the storytelling itself. The setting, I was told that the setting should always be a character
Wow.
in your writing, and that especially writing about the places you've been to them, but I have never been to Australia. I've never been to Spain, or I had to do a lot of research, which I love. I love digging in and diving deep into a location or a person or what have you. But in order to create the setting and make it as interesting and lifelike and as possible, because Kama is such a passionate character in this book, and I believe that her joie de vivre, if you will, like her joy for living, is infectious. And so I wanted to be able to capture these settings and these locations as interestingly and accurately as possible. So that was something I learned in college, like create your setting as a character. And I've definitely carried that with me throughout the years. That's probably my biggest takeaway from undergraduate school.
Yeah, now I remember like the research for each place felt so realistic. There were certain places within Australia, which is what the memoir starts off with. Those places, I didn't necessarily visit them all. Like I knew the cities, but in
Mm-hmm.
terms of specific streets and cafes on those streets,
Right.
they were not that familiar to me. So I feel like it was a co-creation, where I had a certain idea, which was real, but I didn't quite know all the specifics. And I think when it comes to giving a character to the setting, that's where you were just absolutely wonderful. Because you really went into those specifics, and I think it does bring a lot of I don't know, like relevance to the character, comma.
Mm-hmm.
So this memoir that we're all talking about, it revolves around a character called Loveless, and she's basically a larger than life persona than I am. And why it's a larger than life persona than I am? Because ideally, she is a co-creation of me and my mom, actually. And she actually challenges me. She also reassures me in many ways, and I think she resonates with a lot of women and men. I think that's very important because the story is not about me or us anymore. It's really about resonating with all men and women who are reading this story. So I think that's where it also becomes this larger than life character because it's speaking to so many potential readers. But at this point of my writing journey, I don't want people to just wait to read the book. I feel like it's such a pleasure to share the writing journey and want to connect with the larger community anyways, which we do. So this is very special. I think this is a very special time in writing the fiction.
Me too. Did you want to talk a little bit about autofiction versus memoir and why
Yes,
we're leaning towards the genre of autofiction? Um,
yes. It started off as a memoir, but to be honest, because this is a larger than life, persona, the character, comma, and many other characters around her. It's not necessarily just a memoir. It's more of an auto fiction. So that's a genre of literature that came up relatively recently. And
Hmm.
there are also like, conferences around that too. What is an auto fiction? So it's basically part fiction, part non-fiction, if I'm correct. Georgia, what's your understanding of autofiction?
It is, from my understanding, it's thinly veiled fiction. It's still published under the genre of fiction, but it's more truthful, true to life than like a fantasy or a sci-fi book, for example. So it is thinly veiled fiction.
Yeah, because it draws on certain existing facts or data. It's not completely fiction. Um, yeah, it's a very interesting genre for many writers to consider. I wasn't a fiction writer myself. I was completely a nonfiction writer.
Mhm.
And this is really embarrassing to say. This is just because, my lack of time and, my focus in hardcore cultural studies. I barely got a chance to read a lot of fiction. But while writing this memoir, which is really more of an autofiction now, I actually developed more and more learning and interest. I actually learned how to not only write fiction, but also write scripts. And so this has been a very, very interesting journey. And I know, like, for nonfiction writers, it might be challenging to consider sometimes. But wherever we are in our life, I think this is such a valuable asset to have to be able to write and appreciate fiction.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so and why are we writing this? Of course, I know that you helped me. You started off by helping me, but I felt you are so much part of writing this fiction. You are a part of this whole manuscript, and you brought so much life to it. I didn't want to keep it to myself. Very early on, I was like, oh my gosh, like, Georgia is like, a co-author of this manuscript. So, so yeah, where was I going with this? Geez, I'm at a loss of words. We're talking about
Well,
writing.
I,
Yeah,
I'm just grateful to be along for the journey, honestly. I think that I never, when I first agreed to help you, I never could have foreseen how this would have grown into something so poignant. And it's funny reading back because we're like Samita said, we're in like the 12th version of the book, and we're still editing, chapter by chapter. But it's gotten to the point where our words just blend so seamlessly, and it's hard to pick apart like, oh, I wrote that part, or Samita wrote that sentence, or it's just it the sentences and the phrases and the words are just flowing together so seamlessly, and I'm just really touched to have played a role in this book so far.
yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like it's so hard to say who wrote which part.
Right.
It just blends so well, and I'm really, really proud about it. Now, there is like an element of healing and loss, that we also deal with. Of course, this character, Kama, she's very adventurous and very spunky, I will say, and very sexy as well. But at the same time, there are a lot of social justice issues that she's fighting off, and there's a sense of healing from loss. Now, while I was writing this particular manuscript, my dad passed on, which was a very shocking. Um, it was just a very shocking situation because I started writing. really happily just crafting the story and, co-writing very happily while he was working full time. And the goal was to actually address a lot of questions that my mom had or she wanted to realize. But then in the middle, bam, my dad crossed over. And it happened at a point where I could actually like incorporate his crossing over. And that's a chapter that we're editing right now. And I feel
Mhm.
very difficult to address that part. I just feel like, we're giving a lot of life to so many characters, whether they're living or whether they have crossed over. And basically, just, I don't know, I feel at a loss of words right now again.
Yeah.
Yeah, just giving a lot of life and keeping all these characters alive.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's the way that we've sort of tackled these difficult losses is through honesty and love, I believe, and trying to be as, I mean, I don't want to say we're trying to be realistic because it is realistic, it is a lived experience, but just as honest and like unashamed as possible to just, with the greatest love possible, to address these difficult situations that Kama goes through in her journey.
Yeah, I think that's something to remember because I'm struggling with that chapter that draws on my dad's loss on top of my mom's loss, and I still feel very difficult. I don't even want to read about it. It's like
Right.
that. Um, but you know, honesty is something that probably that is probably true to me, and also my dad, my mom, and all the family and friends that we're communicating with,
Hmm.
because this is a kind of loss that many of us go through at one point. And how do you make sense of that? I mean, today I'm saying that this book is not really mine anymore. It's becoming more and more for somebody else, and we have a long way to go, by the way. Everybody who's watching right now, just bear with us and patience. We have a long way to go. Um, but I think that honesty is not just for us. It's really for all the family, friends, all the wider community members who are going to be reading this, who are, you know, going through similar challenges. And how do you make sense of that? And I was very privileged to have a certain amount of support. I don't have a lot of support, but the little support that I've had, that that was really heavenly for me, and that's my asset. So that's the little privilege that I have. But it's very easy to slip, like if we don't stay true to our dreams, our desires, what our parents desired for us, like what we owe to the community. It's very easy to slip because it's a hard thing to do. Do you feel the same, Georgia?
Yeah, I think a lot about what my parents wanted for me in life and how I just sort of kept taking detours. And here I am, playing music and writing full time. Um, but I I think the one of the greatest lessons I've learned is to just be honest with yourself and with others, and the right people will stick with you, um, and support you through everything.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something very, very important for all of us to remember. And one of the reasons why I was also writing this memoir and also doing a lot of short films and doing public talks is because I want to see the kind of world that I want to see around me. I think that's something that many of us wants to see. We want to see that, honesty, the humanity, the transparency the encouragement. We want to see that around us. And that's something that we need to lead by example, and it's very supportive. So 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 yeah, that I guess that's why we're doing what we're doing. And yeah, do you have any further thoughts on that?
Um, I think that I started out writing, helping with this project in order to um, gain experience and with collaborating with other creatives. And I think it's just grown into so much more than just like a pet project, you know. It's like really the passion that I feel like both of us bring to this manuscript is what keeps me going every day. And I think that it very easily could have died off. You know, like it's not every day that you come across an author or a set of co-authors or whoever who has been writing one thing for so many years. And
Yeah.
like I never get tired of it. Every time I revisit a chapter, I am surprised in a good way, you know? And I just keep coming back because not that I ever left, but I just get so excited thinking about what the future might hold. So did you want to, I'm going to ask you about the transition from like a book manuscript to a screenplay
Yeah.
and how that might be an interesting transition.
Yeah, so right now I'm considering to turn this novel into a screenplay. And like I said early on, I'm not attached to the end result. Whatever shape or form it takes, it's going to take. It has a life of its own. Everybody who loves art, loves books, you know, this would be very important for them as well. It has a life of its own, but I feel every single medium has its own role to play. So when it comes to reading a book, the reader has a one-to-one relationship with that book. And that's why a lot of us, would read books during bedtime or read books at a cafe. We have this alone time with the author. And you could get lost in this imaginative space, and it's very personal, it's very individualistic for the reader. But what a screenplay can bring to the screen is something a little bit different. It's not just the theatrical aspect of it. It's actually like this immersive world, where you could actually, watch with others, connect with others, and of course it's visual. So much can be told in terms of just angles or lights or costumes, and of course, the novel will have quite a bit of that too. But there's something very powerful about the visual medium. And while I was writing this novel, I started modeling, just independent modeling. Then I became an actor, and now I also dance. And they're all visual forms of art. They all have their own purpose, and they communicate in different ways to the viewers or to the readers. So I think they all have a role to play. I would not miss a chance. I would just, give my life to each one of these, forms. What would you say, Georgia?
I Yeah, I so admire your breadth of creative endeavors and like between the dance and the physical aspects of creativity and then the visual and then of course the written word. I feel similarly about myself in that I grew up dancing and I play music, and so sonically I am a visual artist as well. I'm obviously a writer, and so I think it's easy for people to sort of pigeonhole us into one creative genre, and I tend to break those expectations down very quickly.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason to limit yourself to one thing. In my opinion, anyway. Yeah, so I think that expanding to a visual medium such as like a film or a short film or whatever you have in mind will be very, very exciting. Because as a reader, you tend to conjure these images and you create whole worlds in your mind when you're reading. And like you said, it's very personal. Um, but when you have the images in front of you in a film, um, it lends itself to like a shared experience. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to take place. And I have a little news for you, Georgia, and everybody. This is news from today. So a script that I wrote based on my recent experiences got accepted. It will become a short film. It's not too far from the novel, but I would say that right now the novel doesn't have any more space for, what I'm observing as a writer. So anything new that's coming in right now will take, you know, life in short films. And
that's so exciting.
yeah, so hopefully it's going to be shot this year.
Congratulations! I can't wait to watch.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And there are two more films that are going to be publicly released and shared with everybody. And I feel they all have a common theme overlapping. But yeah, just to be able to write a script and do a short film it's not easy. It's very rewarding, but it's not easy. But at the end of the day, they're all kind of connected. So I'm just very grateful to be able to do this to the best of my ability.
Me
Because
too.
to do art full time, it's not an easy job to do. I would
Right.
really like to hear from all our viewers and listeners and readers. If there are any questions, please pop them in. I did see some waves and some hearts before. If there are any questions, please let us know. We're not going to disappear completely. I'm sure we're going to have more conversations.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, and we're probably going to end with one more song. Would that be possible, Georgia?
Sure. I have my guitar right here, so whenever you want, I can pull it out.
I hate to say goodbye and wind down. We're still here. If there are any questions, and very sorry about what happened on Facebook. Maybe most of the people were there. Not everybody is on Instagram, but those who
Right.
are on Instagram, they got lucky with us, and it's a last minute thing, literally a last minute thing that we
Yes.
did. So I'm glad
Again,
we're here.
out of our hands. We did everything we knew to do to make Facebook work for us, but it wasn't meant to be.
No, we were meant to be on Instagram. And I'm
Yes.
also appreciating Clubhouse quite a bit. I think I mentioned Clubhouse to you, Georgia, and a couple of, my friends and colleagues as well. That's very interesting too. It's completely audio based. It's live, interactive. So many good conversations there. So far, Instagram and Clubhouse have been really, really amazing. And I hope the rest of the platforms, they work well.
Mhm.
But yeah, we have a lot of time. So we're going to be back. So we're going to slowly wind down. I'll let Georgia play one more song of hers.
All right. Yes, one more song. This is my happy dancing song. So here we go. It's about my hometown. It's called Yadkin. And it is on my EP, which is available on Spotify and Apple Music for listening, if you are so inclined.
Oh.
Well, your mama's real nice, but she doesn't like rock and roll. And your daddy, he's fine when everything's under control. We're living in a country trying to walk the line, deep in the woods among the Carolina pines. Let's get down to the water, I could use some company. They really ought to let it loose every once in a while. Kick off their shoes, get them swimming a country mile. The water sure is pretty, the weather now is fine. Floating down the river, drinking alligator wine. Summer's almost home, time to get on back to the city. Run, Red River, run, keep on rolling. Roll, Red River, roll, won't you keep on flowing? There's a party down by the riverside. Come on, friends, there's nothing to hide. Run, Red River, run on home to me. This old river has never ever done me wrong, and I swear beside this river is where I belong. The city's got my money, but the river's got my heart. You and me together, we will never part. Down by the water, underneath the willow tree. Run, Red River, run, keep on rolling. Roll, Red River, roll, won't you keep on flowing? There's a party down by the riverside. Come on, friends, let's give it a try. Run, Red River, run on home to me. Run, Red River, run on home to me.
Wow, that is a happy song.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like my only happy songs. That needs to change, but I tend to write when I'm sad, so
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's rare for me to write a happy song. Not that they're like all really depressing, but they're just more somber.
Yeah,
Usually.
well, every writer's talk we have, which is, a hope to have and a vision to look forward to. I would love to have your music with us. Now, where can everybody follow you for your music and your writings, Georgia?
So my Instagram is here, the Georgia Moon. My website is www.thegeorgiamoon.com, and that will have links to all my social media, where to buy CDs or stickers or merch if you feel so inclined, and links to my artwork, my visual artwork as well, can all be found from my website.
Okay. Wow. I did see your website and it just speaks for itself.
Thank you. I did it all myself. Yeah.
I can't say it any better. It speaks for itself.
Well, thank you, Samita, for having me today. It's been such a joy talking with you about your manuscript and the work we've been doing these past few years.
Yeah. This was really precious, and I'm going to remember all my life. And I'm sure we're going to have more conversations. And
Yes.
I really hope that the platforms don't fail us. But we're
Yeah.
here on Instagram, so that was very, precious, and we're very lucky.
Yes, definitely.
So we'll sign off now. I want to thank all of us who were able to join in last minute. I know it's Sunday and people have to go in and out, but this conversation is going to be archived on Instagram, on IGTV Live, so that people can revisit anytime they want, even later on. So check back again, and I wish you a wonderful week ahead.